Hello, everyone. Welcome to English for You. I'm Mike.
And I'm Reese.
And we're awake.
We are.
It's the afternoon.
Yeah, we've had a few hours to digest after lunch.
It's a miracle that we're actually awake because you're right, it is a few hours after lunch. I had a fairly light lunch today because I wasn't so busy this morning, but we did avoid a food coma. Now, remember, you guys, we introduced this to you yesterday. It's that feeling you get after you have a big lunch, maybe with lots of carbohydrates, fat, and protein, and then suddenly you feel very tired, you feel kind of confused, like your brain isn't working very well. Well, we would call that a food coma, that strange, tired feeling you get in the afternoon after a big lunch.
So we learned yesterday that there could be a few different reasons for food comas.
Right.
It could be about the size of the meal that you have.
That makes sense.
If you eat too much, probably you're going to be a bit more tired than if you just had a small salad, for example.
Sure.
Or it could be related to the kinds of foods that you're eating, those macronutrients. If you're eating more carbohydrates and fats, that could make you feel more tired than if you had a meal that was maybe more vegetable-based.
Okay, so again, the salad might be a good one. Even if you had a bigger salad, you might still be able to avoid the food coma. But avoid also all that salad dressing, because there can be a lot of fat in that stuff too. But yeah, if you have a light lunch, we would say then maybe you can avoid a food coma. But there's more to it than just what we think. There's going to be some good facts in the article about how to avoid food comas. So let's go check it out.
Reading.
Sleepy after lunch? It may be a food coma. You may be wondering what you can do to stop a food coma from cropping up. You'll be pleased to know that no one is asking you to skip lunch. Instead, follow these tips. Don't eat too much. Eat slowly and stop as soon as you're full. Don't worry too much about wasting food. Eat healthy meals. Make sure to eat lots of healthy foods, such as fruit and vegetables. Limit or avoid animal fat and processed food. Drink lots. Liquids like water or tea will help your mind function well. Sleep well. A lack of sleep can make a food coma worse. Always get a proper night's sleep. Use a bright light. A bright white light while you're working or studying after lunch can help make your food coma less severe. Nap after lunch. Napping for 30 minutes after lunch can help bring your brain back to normal. Together, these tips should help you overcome your food comas so your afternoons are smooth sailing.
So at the beginning of day 2, we're going to answer that question about how to deal with a food coma or, even better, stop it from happening. You may be wondering what you can do to stop a food coma from cropping up. We're all quite curious about this to help save our afternoons. But first, let's talk about this word, to wonder, which is a verb, and it means to muse or to idly consider. What does that mean? Basically, it means to think about something, like a question or a problem or even just some random information. We don't usually wonder about things that are too serious. We usually wonder about abstract or less important things. For example, I wonder what my sister is doing right now. Or, I wonder what it would be like to be a dolphin. Those aren't really important questions to think about. They're just things that you might wonder.
Yeah, and you're not even looking for an answer. You're just sort of throwing the question out there.
To the universe.
Yeah.
Here's an example sentence with the verb wonder. I wonder whether a gorilla could beat a bear in a fight. What do you think?
Who's angrier?
I would say the bear is angry because she has cubs.
I don't know. That would be an interesting fight. I wonder about that one, too.
I do wonder.
Yeah, there you go. But we'll probably never get an answer. But when you wonder about things, they say the answer is not that important, and it's also not that serious a question. You wouldn't say, I wonder if that bus will hit me as you're standing in the middle of the road. No, they will. You should move. Yeah, so it's about non-serious questions. And then we also had that stop things from cropping up.
We did. We've got two structures to talk about here. First, to stop something from verbing.
V-I-N-G-ing?
Yes. The structure here is used to explain that we can end a process. We can stop a thing from happening. For example, Mike, stop the cat from peeing on my bed, please.
Oh, okay. I'll take it into the bathroom.
Or you could say, stop my brother from stealing my snacks.
Ooh.
Stealing my snacks is something that I want to stop from happening, so let's stop it. Or you could say, look, there's a comet coming. Let's stop that comet from hitting the Earth.
Okay, I'll throw the cat at it. Maybe the cat will pee on the comet and
there we are.
Nothing will happen then.
Two birds in one stone.
Yeah, and when something crops up, it basically means it happens. It happens kind of as a surprise. Maybe you didn't expect it. You certainly didn't know it was going to happen, but then it happens. Now, we often talk about things, maybe not necessarily a problem, but something new, something unexpected cropping up during your day or something like that. Of course, when we think of crops, we think of things that grow. Crops are plants that grow on farms. And so these things are kind of appearing naturally, but in an unexpected kind of way. All right, let's get back to our article and see what we can learn about food comas. It says, you'll be pleased to know that no one is asking you to skip lunch. Okay, well, that's good. So you can still eat your lunch. You don't have to skip lunch to avoid a food coma. Instead, follow these tips. All right, we'll get to those tips after we talk about this word skip. I wouldn't want to skip.
Don't skip.
No. All right, when you skip things, you basically leave them out. You pass them over. It could be something that should be in there. It should be in the group. It should be one of the ones that you count, but for some reason, you just go right over it. You ignore it. You act as if it wasn't there. If I'm counting things and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, you might say, hey, you skipped 7. You left it out. It wasn't included with all of the others in the group. So that's what happens when we skip things. And yeah, if we're talking about a diet, if we're talking about losing weight, people might say, oh, I'm going to skip lunch today because I want to lose weight. I'm not sure skipping meals is actually a good way to lose weight. I think doctors might give you different advice like eat better food, eat healthier food, smaller portions. But if you decide to skip something, a meal, maybe just because you're busy or you don't feel like eating, that's okay once in a while. You're just leaving out that meal and continuing with the ones that come later on. For example, Blaine was in big trouble when his teacher caught him skipping math class. Oh, he didn't go to math class. Poor Blaine, he's in big trouble. All right, so if we don't want to skip meals, which isn't really the best idea, what are some other ways to avoid food comas?
Well, the first tip is pretty obvious. It says don't eat too much.
Yeah.
Eat slowly and stop as soon as you're full. Don't worry too much about wasting food. Okay, so even if there's a bit left on your plate, maybe it's better to stop eating instead of force feeding yourself until you're about to explode.
That's right. And even if you don't have too much time for your lunch, because some people might only have 20 or 30 minutes, try to eat slowly. This is a good tip for all your meals. If you eat slowly, you'll feel full faster, and also the food will go down better. You'll have less trouble with maybe a stomach ache or something after lunch. So chew lots and eat slowly. Take your time. Your body will be happy that you did. Next, we read eat healthy meals. Yeah, sure, of course. It's great to have pizzas and hamburgers every day, I suppose, but that is not a healthy diet. So make sure to eat lots of healthy foods such as fruit and vegetables. That salad you mentioned. Have a healthy light sandwich followed by a banana or an apple. Avoid all the heavy things. Limit or avoid animal fat and processed food. Yes, absolutely. When we make sure of things, this is something we're doing to be careful. We're kind of guaranteeing, we're kind of making sure there's no mistakes. We're kind of looking at things very, very carefully, thinking about all the problems that might come along, possibly even making a plan in your mind before, so that nothing goes wrong. That's what happens when you make sure you're doing something. You're not just doing it without thinking, you're thinking before you act. And when we talk about processed food, well, processed food is food that's had things done to it, but not on a farm, not by nature, by science or in a lab or in a factory or something like that. They've added in sugar, they've added in salt, they've added things to change the color, to make it look nicer. A lot of the foods that we buy, especially snack foods and things like that, or there's meals that you just put in your microwave, warm up and eat, those are processed in ways to keep them looking longer, tasting better, and also make them easier to cook. But for whatever reason, it's not exactly natural if it's processed. For example, the cheese they use on cheeseburgers is usually processed cheese. It's true, it's not the best cheese.
You can usually tell when food is processed or processed because it looks very different from the original organic material that it's made from, right?
And on the back of the package, there's lots of long chemical names and things like that. It doesn't just say cheese.
It's like cheese and then 100 other ingredients.
Right, monosodium hydrogenated glutamate stuff. Yeah,
not good for you. Stick to the organic, natural foods and your body will thank you. Well, the next tip is drink lots.
Lots of Coca-Cola?
No, definitely not. The article is specific. It says liquids like water or tea
not Coke.
will help your mind function well.
True.
Do not drink lots of Coca-Cola or Sprite or other fizzy, sugary drinks because they will rot your teeth and they will make you feel sleepier later on. They might give you a momentary boost of energy, but you'll feel that crash later.
Yeah, absolutely.
They call it the sugar crash.
There you go. Actually, a lot of these tips are good for just a general healthy diet, right? Eat light food, take your time, drink lots of water. So if they can help you avoid a food coma, even better.
You know, I've heard drinking green tea can be particularly good for helping with digestion.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if you like green tea, that could be a good option as well.
With your meal or after your meal.
Exactly. And just make sure there's no added sugar in your tea. Well, let's talk about this word function now. So the word function means to work or operate in the correct or normal way. It's a verb which means to work in the way that is expected or in the way that it's designed. If something is functioning, that thing is working in the way that it's supposed to. We often use the word function or functioning to talk about machines or mechanical things. My computer has stopped functioning. Or another example that you could use for an organic being, like a human, I can't function when I'm hungry. In this example, I'm treating myself like a machine or a robot. I can't do the work I need to do because I'm just too hungry. Here's an example sentence with function. Do you know how this machine functions? I've never used it before.
All right, next, sleep well. Oh, so when you have your food coma, make sure you bring a pillow and a blanket to your office, lie down on your boss's desk. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about sleeping well at night when you should be sleeping, not after lunch when you shouldn't be sleeping. And don't sleep on your boss's desk. That's a terrible, terrible idea. But yes, sleep well at night. Get a good night's sleep. A lack of sleep can make a food coma worse. Well, of course, anyone who didn't sleep well will always find that the afternoon is the hardest part of the day. Your energy is low. If you've eaten a big lunch as well, oh my gosh, it's going to be really hard to have any. You will look exactly like this. There you go. And that's not the way to look at school or at work. So a lack of sleep can make a food coma worse. It can make your life worse. Always get a proper night's sleep. All right, if something is proper, it's appropriate. It is what you should be doing in that situation. So a proper night's sleep, doctors would tell us, is 7, 8, 9 hours if you're a younger person. 6 or 7 hours if you're an older person. That's a decent, regular amount of sleep. When we use this word proper, we're talking about things that fit, things that work, things that would be a good idea to do. We're following advice, we're listening to the experts, and things like that. For example, you should eat a proper breakfast before you spend the day hiking. So if you're going hiking, don't just wake up and eat a chocolate bar for breakfast. You should have some nuts, you should have some carbohydrates, things to give you energy, and that will give you all the power and energy you'll need to go hiking.
I love a big bowl of oatmeal with nuts and maybe some cranberries or strawberries.
Sure, that is a proper breakfast. Yeah, with some juice or some water, some green tea. You're not having a chocolate bar and a Coca-Cola on the bus or something on the way to school. All right, here's another one. This is interesting. Use a bright light. I guess this is when you're eating your lunch or after your lunch. It says a bright white light while you're working or studying after lunch can help make your food coma less severe. Very interesting. I guess the idea here is that the bright light will make your brain feel like it's daytime. I'm awake, I have energy. It's not the evening. I'm not starting to feel tired and lazy and relaxed. But if you do have a little bit of the sleepy feeling in the afternoon, the bright light will make that feeling or your food coma less severe. Something is severe, it's pretty bad. It's sort of at the far end of a scale of not very much to, yeah, quite a lot. If we talk about things being severe, it's pretty serious, and often we use this word to talk about things that are kind of bad. If we talk about a severe illness, a severe disaster, a severe injury, these are bad things, you know, these are very, very sick. A big disaster, a terrible injury where someone definitely rushed to the hospital afterwards. So if it's severe, it's pretty serious. It's something you definitely want to pay attention to and avoid if you can.
Yeah, this piece of advice makes sense. You know, I think our brains are very 21st century, but our bodies in some other ways are still ancient beings.
We're monkeys.
We are. We really respond to things like the light to give us signals about whether it's nighttime or daytime. Even if we know it's daytime, if it's dark in the room, our body might feel like it's nighttime and want to go to sleep.
It's the same thing they said with the proper sleep, right? If you use your phone right before bed, that light is making your brain think now it's daytime. And of course, you'll have the opposite problem. You won't fall asleep.
Well, we have another tip here, and it is my favorite of all of them.
Okay.
Nap after lunch. Ooh. Well, this is a piece of good advice, but it might not be suitable for everybody. If it is suitable for you, then you're very lucky. It explains napping for 30 minutes after lunch can help bring your brain back to normal. So if you have the opportunity to nap, maybe you can eat for 30 minutes and take a quick nap on your desk for 30 minutes, then you should wake up feeling ready to get back to the day. So what is a nap exactly? Well, let's take a look. The word nap can be a verb or a noun. The verb to nap means to take a short sleep. To sleep for about 10 minutes to maybe 1 hour, although 1 hour is quite long for a nap. If you sleep much longer than that, you're no longer napping, you're just sleeping. Naps are really good for getting a bit of extra energy, especially if you're experiencing a food coma or you're really tired in the middle of the day. Just put your arm on your desk and put your head down, close your eyes for 15 or 20 minutes, and you'll feel recharged. I love a good nap. Here's an example sentence about other beings that like naps. My cats both like to nap during the afternoon, just like me.
All right, so a lot of really, really good tips there. You might want to remember them, write them down, keep them in mind next time you're going to go out and have a big lunch. You might decide to do things a little differently, and you won't regret it. As the article says, together, these tips should help you overcome your food comas so your afternoons are smooth sailing. And that would be great because the afternoon can sometimes be the longest part of the day, or it feels the longest. because we're still working, we're getting tired, we might be even more tired after lunch, and oh no, there's still 3 or 4 more hours before we can go home. And you want to overcome any of those things that make your afternoons harder. When you overcome something, you kind of get past a problem. We talk about overcoming challenges or obstacles. Basically, you're facing the problem, you're dealing with the problem, you're fixing or solving the problem, and then you're moving on your road to success. So we all have to overcome problems, small and big, during our day. And hopefully these tips will help you overcome any problems you guys might experience with food comas. Now you know the right things to do to avoid this afternoon sleepy, lazy feeling.
So back to the article, it says, together these tips should help you overcome your food comas so your afternoons are smooth sailing. Now this phrase, smooth sailing, is very interesting and pretty good to use. Basically, it means the progress of a plan without difficulties or problems. If something is smooth sailing, everything happens according to plan, the process is easy, there's no block or anything that's stopping you from completing your mission. It's smooth sailing, as if you're a ship sailing smoothly across the sea.
All right, we have time for a chat question, so let's go do that. Then we'll come back, and then we'll all take a nap.
You chat.
Okay, so today's For You Chat question, an important topic to discuss. Mike, do you ever think about how healthy your food is? Or how to eat healthier? What advice do you have?
Learn how to cook. That's the advice that I have. I don't actually think too much about how healthy my food is. I was never one of those guys reading the package of, oh, there's this fat and there's that. I don't really do that. You know, I know what's good. I know what's bad. I try to eat more of the good stuff. But when I learned how to cook, I discovered that I can make food more cheaply, and most importantly, it tastes better when I make it at home, and then I find out it's actually healthier too. I go to a doctor fairly regularly, and maybe once a year I get a blood test. And all the years before I learned how to cook, there would always be something, and the doctor would be like, this number is a little too high. You should eat less of this or eat more of that. When I started to cook, since then, my blood tests are always, everything's okay. So I think that's really just because I learned how to cook, so I know what's going in the food, and I'm not using processed food, and it's easy to make healthy food, and so I just do that.
That's great advice. You know, when you eat at a restaurant or you get your delivery food in, you never really know what they're putting into the food. There could be so much sugar and salt in there and other chemicals, and you're not sure about the quality of the ingredients because they've already been fried or sautéed. So if you cook it yourself, you know exactly what's going in your food.
That's right. And you also discover that to make your food taste like restaurant food, put in a lot more salt, a lot more butter, and a lot of the other unhealthy things that you really shouldn't put in there. So that's the normal in restaurant food. Whereas at home, you don't have to do it like that.
Very good advice. Now you guys can think about this question too. Talk with your friends about healthier food options. That's all we have for now. We hope you've learned some tips to avoid that next food coma. And we'll see you next time.
Take care. Bye. Oh no.
Vocabulary Review.
Wonder. Sally saw a shoe hanging high from the top of a tree and wondered how it got there. Skip. Henry was so tired that he skipped the shower and went straight to bed. Processed. Eating processed meat isn't healthy, so try to eat fresh meat and vegetables. Function. Change the oil in your car regularly to keep it functioning well. Proper. You won't be able to open the computer's case without the proper tools. Nap. Lucy was feeling tired, so she laid down and napped after lunch.
智慧小补帖
Severe. Overcome.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net